Can you believe it? The #1 seed is upset. Do you believe in miracles? Sponsored by Indochino. When we look back on the unmitigated disaster that was the COVID-19 pandemic, there are going to be a lot of bright spots, but perhaps one of the good things to come out of it is the preponderance of ridiculous videos involving Zoom court hearings. I mean, when you add lawyers, judges, criminals, and sometimes Florida man, you're gonna get some ridiculous results. So as we start to come out of this whole thing, let's rank them. And the good people over at Above the Law have done the hard work, and they have compiled 16 of the most ridiculous, epic Zoom fails that have happened during the pandemic. If you care about legal industry insider news, you should definitely be reading AboveTheLaw.com, led by commentators like Joe Patrice and until recently, Elie Mystal, two of my favorite legal commentators out there. So let's look at the Sweet 16 of epic lawyer Zoom call fails and see who comes out on top. So we start with the #1 seed, I'm Still Not a Cat.
Mr. Ponton, I believe you have a filter turned on in the video settings. You might want to take a look.
Can you hear me, Judge?
I can hear you. I think it's a filter.
It is, and I don't know how to remove it. I've got my assistant here. She's trying to, but I'm prepared to go forward with it. I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
I must have seen this video, I don't know, a dozen times, and it still makes me laugh. I'm still not a cat, as if that actually needed to be explained to the judge. This is obviously the #1 seed. It's gonna be really tough for any other Zoom fail to top this one. The cat filter, the sad eyes, the pleading from the attorney, it's just Zoom call perfection.
I'm not a cat.
This is a really, really tough matchup for the 16 seed here, which is just a letter from a clearly exasperated judge in Florida saying that, look, you need to show up for Zoom hearings with some concern for how you look. The judge is trying to have some sort of decorum here, reminding people not to wear casual shirts and blouses, that this is not just a normal phone conversation with their friends, and most importantly, you have to wear at least a shirt to a Zoom hearing. I mean, look, Florida lawyers are going to Florida lawyer. There's no getting around that. It's like Syracuse running a zone defense. And, you know, they're gonna do it every year. Easily the #1 seed, I'm Still Not a Cat, defeating underdog, the Weston Bar Association of Florida.
I'm prepared to go forward with it.
All right, that takes us to our next matchup. And if you thought that it wasn't possible to get any dumber than Florida people appearing in Florida court.
Judge, you is so gorgeous, Mr. Judge. I just have to tell you.
Well, Jeffrey Toobin said, "Hold my beer."
According to press reports, at some point, Toobin engages in an intimate act of self-gratification, seemingly unaware that a Zoom camera is on. For his part, Toobin calls the incident an embarrassing and stupid mistake.
Yeah, I think we all remember what happened to Jeffrey Toobin. Many of you probably have not seen the video, so here is the uncensored video of Jeffrey Toobin on a video call. I'm obviously kidding, I'm not going to show you that, but yeah. Always a good reminder that you shouldn't cast stones if you aren't prepared to walk the walk, at least with pants. So Jeffrey Toobin falls from grace. He's up against the doctor who appeared at a traffic court while actually in surgery.
So unless I'm mistaken, I'm seeing a defendant that's in the middle of an operating room, appearing to be actively engaged in providing services to a patient. Is that correct, Mr. Green?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is terrifying.
I do not feel comfortable for the welfare of a patient if you're in the process of operating that I would put on a trial.
Please, don't appear in court. Whether it's on Zoom or any other way, if you're actively operating on a person. This is crazy. I covered this earlier in the year, but my God, what craziness had to be going through this guy's head.
I have another surgeon right here who's doing the surgery with me, so I can stand here and allow them to do the surgery also.
Look, if you have to reschedule, if there's a medical emergency, you can call up the court clerk and you can rearrange your hearing.
I don't think so. I don't think that's appropriate. I think I'm going to come up with a different date.
This was a surprisingly tough matchup. I understand why Jeffrey Toobin was a number 2 seed here, but I have to say that I think the 15 seed of Doctor appearing in court while actively potentially harming a patient who was undergoing cosmetic surgery, it blows my mind in such a way that I think I'm gonna give it to the 15 seed. Jeffrey Toobin is unseated, pun intended, and we're gonna give it to the doctor operating on a patient. Just don't do that. That is mind-bogglingly crazy. So that takes us to perhaps the most prestigious matchup of the tournament. We have the oral argument at the US Supreme Court, in which someone flushes a toilet during the oral argument. Let's see what happened here.
Marketing some other product. Maybe they're going to be saying, hey, call your congrosman and change these laws that apply to banks.
Standard, boring Supreme Court oral argument.
When the subject matter of the call ranges to the topic,
okay, that is very clearly a toilet being flushed.
The subject matter of the call ranges to the topic.
Yeah. I mean, I've been saying for years that the Supreme Court is going down the toilet. So the funniest thing about this whole thing is that the Supreme Court hates the loss of decorum. And this must have made John Roberts' head explode because he really cares about these sorts of things. Famously, you can't take a video camera into the US Supreme Court. So the fact that they were finally allowing live oral arguments, oh boy, at least over Zoom calls like this, it's just, yeah, you can imagine that the justices were not happy about this at all. So the Supreme Court toilet was up against just your garden variety naked lawyer. This time in California though, not actually in Florida for once. Yeah, so a guy that looks like an 80s wrestler. I think he actually does have a mullet here. That's sort of interesting. He just, appeared with no clothes on whatsoever and then received remonstrations from the judge. This lawyer could really use a new suit and tie and shirt and underwear. Indochino. Yeah, I mean, there's some heart going on with this one, with just not bothering to put on clothes for an oral argument. But because of the prestige of the Supreme Court, I'm handing it to the number 3 seed easily. Supreme Court oral argument while the toilet is flushing wins this round. All right, that brings us to the final top seed of this whole tournament. We knew it was bound to happen that with enough Zoom hearings, someone was going to get it on with the camera on. And as it happened, apparently in Peru, that actually happened. That after the hearing was over, the cameras were still rolling and the lawyer just got it on. Yeah, well, look, I mean, people have urges, right? I guess the worst part is that this was actually happening what appears to be the lawyer's office. So that's just not good for pandemic purposes either. I mean, socially distance. Yikes. But that's up against a real underdog here, just a tweet of what is assumed to have happened. During a Zoom hearing, I had given an attorney some instructions when he snapped, "Sneaky." I said, "Sir, we can still hear you." He clarified that his dog had just pooped on the rug. Yeah, a lot of heart in this one, but we don't actually know that they intended this to be directed at the judge. We presume that it was, but perhaps it was just a mix-up and it's one of those things where, the dog ate my homework or, the dog pooped on the floor. This one, no real contest. You're gonna have to give it to the lawyers that are actually flaunting all of the regulations and ethical requirements for lawyers and just actually getting it on in their offices. Boy, yeah. Easy win for the number 4 seed. So that takes us to our next matchup. Here we have, how do I put this? Very aggressive oral argumentation here. There is a female attorney at her desk, but there seems to be something going on just beneath the desk that does not seem to be on the up and up. Again, these things are bound to happen, but man, save it for after hours. That is, the workplace is not the right place for this. And speaking of not the right time or place, we have the opponent, another Zoom call where they just decided not to wear any clothes whatsoever.
They're shenanigans, so today's my Gonzaga day. That's how it's gonna be. Let's make sure everybody has clothes on.
This one is a bit more graphic in that they literally stand up for apparently no apparent reason. And what makes this particularly funny here, though, is this is a civil procedure class in law school, where you would think that they would know better. And also, why are people just running around all day long without clothes on? Just, put some pants on. Man, you think law students would know better. I'm gonna have to give this to the law student. That is incredibly embarrassing. People keep saying, put your clothes on, and people are audibly distressed at what's going on.
Come on, guys.
What? No, your video is on.
So I guess the second upset of the tournament here. That brings us to the Michigan division of the tournament. Here we have a man attends a Zoom court hearing from his own victim's home. I mean, this is some craziness.
Your Honor, I have reason to believe that the defendant is in the same apartment as the complaining witness right now, and I'm extremely scared for her safety.
And then they realize that both the alleged abuser and the alleged victim are in the same location.
I want you to walk out to the front of the house, show me the house number on the house.
There is some order, the restraining order basically, that says they can't be anywhere near each other.
Yes?
Your Honor, me and both don't want the no contact. I asked that that be dropped. I'm sorry I lied to you.
Yeah, and then they argue that they don't want this order to be in place, and the police come and arrest this guy for violating this restraint order.
Take the cigarette out of your mouth. The hearing is adjourned.
Man, that's crazy. I mean, this happens in Michigan in exactly the same courtroom as the judge in the opponent, where the guy is attending a suspended license hearing from actually being in a car.
The one I'm struggling with is the driving suspended. I believe you drove to wherever you are in the vehicle you're in, and you're dumb enough to come on video with you sitting in the driver's seat of a vehicle. What would you like me to know, sir?
That I'm not sitting in my own vehicle and I didn't drive here, that I'm sitting in my boss's vehicle currently because I'm in court. I wasn't trying to do court in a customer's house.
I mean, you expect this sort of behavior from teams from Florida, but not from Michigan. I mean, kudos to Judge Middleton here, who seems to handle this with confidence and respect. But this guy is saying a whole bunch of crap in his own courtroom. Both of these things happened with the same judge and the same prosecutor. Incredible. I'm gonna have to give this to, boy, the victim and abuser being in the same house. That's crazy. I'm glad that there was a good result with the police coming by and extricating the guy from this house, but that's, boy, that is unusual. You don't see that every day or every tournament.
This is a issue we didn't have when we had live court.
All right, that brings us to the food and pajamas division. The first up is the lawyer fails to turn off his camera while he's eating lunch. Now that doesn't sound too bad, but let's see what's going on here. Yeah, so he's going to town on that lunch. He is, boy. Yeah, you'd think you would just, wait until the hearing is over. Who knows if the judge is going to ask you to actually say something while you're chomping down on a sandwich, I think. Not best practices. If you're in front of the judge, you probably should not be scarfing down on an enormous lunch. For this entire time, put the sandwich away! All right, versus lawyer being reprimanded for not wearing a tie and more. Here we have an ex parte communication. So you're not allowed to talk to the judge or send emails to the judge alone. If you're going to do that, you have to copy opposing counsel on it. And the judge says, the email states that I would not consider an application from him because he was, quote, was not wearing a tie. That is true, as the record reflects. What the record also reflects is that Mr. Weisbrot appeared in court for trial via Zoom on Tuesday in either a printed t-shirt or pajamas. It was difficult to discern. Yeah, so if you object that the judge is reprimanding you for not wearing a tie, and you are in fact wearing either a pre-printed t-shirt or pajamas, you probably don't have the better of the argument. And maybe you should not be complaining to the judge that you're being reprimanded for going to court tieless. I'm just gonna go out on a limb there. I'm gonna give this to scarfing down lunch. That's hilarious. And it's, my God, it's still going. Put the lunch away, man. Jeez. So we're, I guess that's the equivalent of overtime in this tournament. All right, so that brings us to the top law school bracket here. We have, on the one hand, the comments from a professor.
A lot of my lower ones are blacks. Happens almost every semester.
Yeah, I think we've seen this comment before. That is a very unfortunate way of phrasing that, and that's really too bad. Versus Harvard Law, the Federalist Society president apparently brings a gun to class, and I can't imagine how bad that could. Oh my God! Why would you do that? Boy, I'm just gonna say that both of these are completely disqualified from participating in the law school bracket now and in the future. So that's a DQ all around. All right, so now we just need to figure out the Elite Eight. So here we have Still Not a Cat, handily beats the disqualified Georgetown and Harvard bracket, so they advance. And then we have the Afternoon Delight versus the Civ Pro Streaker. I'm gonna give it to the Civ Pro Streaker just because they were so incredibly clueless. Ben, get your stuff together, man. Why are you attending Civ Pro completely naked? So Civ Pro Streaker advances. Then we have, let's see, Code Blue versus A Man's Gotta Eat. So this is the sandwich versus the doctor in the ER. Tough call, but I'm gonna give it to the underdog again, the doctor in the operating room. Yeah, attending a call while you're in surgery, that's malpractice, whereas eating a lunch in front of the judge, that's just mal-sandwich. Then we have the SCOTUS toilet flush versus catching an abuser in the same home as the alleged victim here. I mean, that's so sad. I'm just gonna have to give it again to the Supreme Court toilet flush here. Again, purely based on it making John Roberts, the Chief Justice's head, explode here. He must have absolutely hated that. I think they get extra points for the lack of decorum at the Supreme Court, so Supreme Court toilet flush advances. Okay, things are really starting to heat up here. We have Still a Cat. Let's check in on the floor. Mr. Attorney, are you still a cat?
I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
He is still a cat. Ladies and gentlemen, Still a Cat versus Civ Pro. Ben, can you hear us? Ben, did you get your together? No, Ben can't hear us. So Still Not a Cat advances to the finals. That brings us Doctor, who should not be having a Zoom hearing in the operating room, versus the Supreme Court toilet flush. Doctor, have you stopped operating on your patient?
I have another surgeon right here who's doing the surgery with me, so I can stand here and allow them to do the surgery also.
Ooh, that's gonna cost him. And the Supreme Court, is there still a working toilet in the Supreme Court?
The subject matter of the call ranges to the topic.
Yes, there is still a toilet. The Cinderella story of the Supreme Court toilet advances to the finals. So that takes us to the finals. We have Still a Cat who's, let me check in. Are they still a cat? Yes, they are still a cat.
I've got my assistant here. She's trying to, but
versus the Supreme Court toilet. Let's check in, ladies and gentlemen. Is there still a toilet at the Supreme Court? Yes, my God, they've done it. There is still a toilet at the Supreme Court. They've done it. The Cinderella story throughout this entire tournament. Do you believe in miracles and toilets at the Supreme Court? The team that made the Chief Justice's head explode, they have done it. My goodness, March Madness is incredible every year. The Supreme Court oral argument toilet wins for the first time in history. Just incredible. And if we've learned anything from these lawyers, is that wearing a suit to court, or any clothes at all, is more important than ever. And all of my suits come from Indochino, including this one that I'm wearing right now. It was custom made just for me. And by the way, if you've ever wondered which particular suits I'm wearing, you can actually click on the link below in the description and see the entire Legaleagle collection at Indochino. It has all of my suits. You can actually get the exact same fabric and customize it for yourself. Because if you can't tell, I'm thrilled that Indochino is back. They are my favorite. And whether you are returning to work and need a new suit that fits after the COVID-19 pounds, or if you're going through with that wedding that you postponed and all of the groomsmen need matching tailored suits, Indochino is 100% the way to go. And mazel tov, by the way. Because the secret to a great suit is all about the fit, and I'm a reasonably athletic guy, but I can never buy suits off the rack because they just simply never fit right. If the shoulders fit, the waist is too small, it either doesn't fit or it costs a ton to have a tailor fix it. But with Indochino, you can send in your measurements online, or you can go to one of their hundreds of stores and have a stylist take your particular measurements. And a couple of weeks later, you will get a box with the best fitting suit of your entire life, just right out of the box. And if there are any issues, they will tailor it until it fits perfectly, all for free. And when I used to buy suits off the rack, I used to spend hundreds just on the tailoring alone. But with Indochino, they will make you a fully custom tailored suit specifically for you for less than $3.99. And the best part is they still use the best materials like Super 140's wool. I personally will never get another off the rack suit again. And once you try Indochino, neither will you. And Legaleagles will get a special $30 off of any purchase of $3.99 or more when you click on the link below and enter the code Legaleagle at checkout. I cannot overstate how great having a custom suit is, and getting a custom suit for these prices is a complete no-brainer. So just click on the link below and use the code Legaleagle at checkout. Plus, clicking on that link really helps out this channel. And by the way, if you do get an Indochino suit, tag me in a photo on Twitter. I love seeing how fly all of you Legaleagles look. So, do you agree with my analysis? Leave your objections in the comments and check out this playlist over here with all of my other real law reviews, where I talk about Home Alone, Suits, My Cousin Vinny, you name it. It's all right here, so click on this playlist, and I'll see you in court.